Carson Wentz number one, just acknowledge it.
Unbelievable.
You are threatened because he's the only guy in this league that has Mahomes-level talent. He's it. It's Wentz and Mahomes look like Superman, and this bothers you to your core that it's Wentz, doesn't it?
It doesn't bother me at all. Nobody in the league, except for maybe Aaron Rodgers, has Mahomes-level talent, first of all. Now, Carson Wentz has a better NFL body and all these things, yet somehow he gets injured. Patrick Mahomes yet to be injured. I think Carson Wentz is better than his numbers suggest for the year. Now, he gagged away the Atlanta game, an imminently winnable game. Everyone says, oh, Nelson Aguilar should have caught the ball. Yeah, he should have caught the ball, but they shouldn't have been in that position. He has had one verifiably bad game this year, Carson Wentz. Patrick Mahomes just had his worst game of the season. That's when he went on the road against an undefeated team, let a comeback in the final 2 minutes, rushed for the game, not the game clinching, but the game saving, a fourth down conversion, threw for 300, rushed for 50, and that's his worst game of the season. I said it last week, I'll say it again. If you type in all these numbers into your fancy algorithm and it spits out something other than the quarterback who leads the NFL in yards, touchdowns, yards per attempt, and quarterback rating, he's not only is he not number one, but he's number 6, then it's an absurdity. They've got him the 4th best passer, the 6th best quarterback, my guy Mahomes. Wentz is good, and I agree Wentz is better than Dak, even though he hasn't been better than Dak so far this year. But yeah, Pro Football Focus, there's a fly in your soup, my friends, and you got to fix it.
Tomorrow, Peter King was saying this. I said to Peter King yesterday, Nick, I said, in my life, I'm not saying Russell Wilson's the best quarterback, but he's the most overlooked, and I think he's the reason Kyler Murray got drafted. I think he's the reason Baker got drafted, Johnny Manziel got drafted, maybe Lamar Jackson was a first-round pick. He is Steve Young, but right-handed. That we didn't know what to do with Steve Young because he was left-handed, he replaced Montana. When I watch Russell Wilson, by the way, Doug Baldwin retires, doesn't matter. Gadget guys work. Undrafted guys work. Small guys. A blocking tight end now. Will Dissly in college is now a viable receiver. Now, people will say, Colin, you're from Seattle. But you're from the Midwest. You love Mahomes. How do you view Russell Wilson historically and now?
Right, I'll do it in reverse order. Right now, he is the best quarterback in the NFC. Period. Point blank. What quarterback leads the NFL in touchdowns over the last 3 years? It's Russell Wilson. Despite having a pedestrian receiving core and despite having Brian Schottenheimer trying to run a 1980s-style ground-and-pound offense, Russell Wilson still leads the NFL in touchdown passes over the last 3 years. He is off to the best start he's ever had with minimal talent, and we talk all about all these other teams. Put Russell Wilson on the Dallas Cowboys. They are the overwhelming Super Bowl favorites. Put Russell Wilson on the Chicago Bears. They are one of the greatest teams ever. Put Russell Wilson on the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, Lord.
They become the favorites in the NFC.
Yes.
He is so underrated. And one thing where I think some people miss this, because I picked Seattle to win this division before the year, because we have had Wentz in year 2 nearly win an MVP, Mahomes in year 2 win an MVP, Brady in year 18 win an MVP. We have forgotten when are players, quarterbacks most notably, supposed to peak? Around year 8? Russell Wilson in year 8, he is off to the best start of his career. He is the glue that holds that organization together, and he continues to be one of the most underrated people in all of professional sports. Amen to you 100% on that, Colin.
By the way, talent doesn't equal valuable. I think OBJ is very talented. I don't know how valuable, and I'll give it some context. His 15 biggest games, the Giants and Browns are 5-10. His 15 lowest production games, they're 9-6. Last weekend, lowest receiving yards of his career, and I think Cleveland looked fantastic. That's not a shot at him. He is. J.J. Watt always had this appeal. He's great. Is he translating to W's? So I think he's at a crossroads. So last week, Jarvis Landry, Chubb in the defense, and Baker lead the team. OBJ's not a big factor. And you're a fan of OBJ, but are we at a little bit of a crossroads here where when they have forced the ball to him, it doesn't look the same? He has become a player that's talented, but frankly, I can align things to say he's not that valuable to a team. Is that fair?
No, it's not fair. It's wrong. So here's the thing. The Browns have 2 wins this year. One of them was because of Odell's brilliance. He got the game started against the Jets, making a catch only he could make, and he ended the game against the Jets, making a play only one of maybe 4 other receivers can make, taking a slant and going 80 yards, outrunning everyone. You mentioned Greg Cosell earlier. Everyone has loved for over a decade now your segment with Greg Cosell, where he breaks down the film. Ask him to break down the film on the Nick Chubb run and ask him why there was not a safety on that side of the field. Oh, because they're worried about Odell. Ask him to break down why Ricky Seals-Jones is running wide open. Oh, because they're worried about Odell. Odell took the attention of the defense, and that allowed the rest of the offense to open up. But of course, his impact can be seen. They have 2 wins. He had his fingerprints on both of them. And now, if Odell was the one who was choking a player on the opposition, we'd freak out because he was the one being choked. It's a side story. Odell stays quiet after a win, and there's no attaboys, it's just what you're supposed to do. People waiting for him to be upset he didn't get his touches, but they won and he wasn't. And I don't think the big games, 5 and 10, I think a lot of that is some of your biggest games as a receiver comes when your team is trailing already and they have to throw it all the time. They have a winning record when he doesn't have big games. Some of your smallest games, a wide receiver, if you will, if you're blowing the opposition out, you go to the run. So I think that's more noise than signal. I think Odell Beckham is going to be a huge part of the reason the Browns win that division this year, and he's been a huge part of their first 2 wins of the season.
Well, it was certainly a well-constructed argument, wrong, but nonetheless well-constructed. Finally, I live in Los Angeles, so when you live in a city, I watch every Rams snap. I see every Rams story. I got 3 or 4 great beat writers in L.A. I follow. I think they're in trouble. Listen, my rule in professional sports is you only pay the people that win you games, stars, and you pay them when you have to pay them. They paid Todd Gurley a year early. Nick, it looks like he's a shot fighter. The Rams are the 3-1 team in this league. I just don't buy. What say you?
I agree with you 100%, and here's the problem. You paid Todd Gurley a year early. You can't get off his contract even next year. It costs you more money to cut him than to keep him, and that is not going to be looked at as their worst contract. They paid Jared Goff for no reason whatsoever other than it seemed like they should. I feel like in that building, they were anxious about Goff. In that building, they knew. You've got the coach giving him the answers to the test. You have, prior to this year, the best running back in football behind him, a perfect group of wide receivers as far as diversity of talents in Cooks, Woods, and Kupp, and still, he's only great in the end when all of those things are there. If Gurley's out, he's not great. If Cooper Kupp is out, he's not great. If the defense simply waits until Sean McVay can't talk to him anymore to make adjustments, he's not great. And Belichick exposed some of that, and now Gurley's not Gurley, and now all of a sudden Jared Goff, in his last 12 games, Colin, has 20 turnovers. Jared Goff last year, who had 16 touchdowns to 2 picks with a 110 rating on play action, has become the worst play-action passer in football. 0 touchdowns, 3 picks, a 60 rating. Why? Because it wasn't about his arm talent. It was about the threat of Todd Gurley. That threat is gone, and now they've got a quarterback with a tiny-handed $35 million a year quarterback, and you're about to have a situation where you've got the highest-paid defensive player ever, running back ever, and one of the highest-paid quarterbacks. The only one who has a chance to live up to that contract is Donald, and even he, as soon as he becomes the 5th best defensive player in football instead of the very best, he's overpaid. I'm very worried about the Rams, who right now, this moment, look like the 3rd best team in the division. I think they'll finish 2nd best in the division and miss the playoffs. I was telling you that a month ago. Yeah. I think people are, I don't want to overreact to one game, worried about their offense, though.
Great stuff, Nick Wright. Very good today. Came in, it's almost today like, did you notice, Joy? Today he did his homework. You know, sometimes he just ad-libs his way through it, but today he really, that's what the girl said to me that I broke up with. She said I didn't work hard. And see, so Nick feels like breaking up with me right now because I was just joking, of course. Nick Wright, there he is on the big screen. Love you, brother. Good seeing you.
You too. Good to talk to you. See you.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.